Okay, so I was just laying here thinking about growth and about how we go through the cycles of life and the ways we're offered like these huge moments of reset, because we get stuck on a thread, we get stuck on a thing, we get stuck on a perspective and an experience. And I was thinking about the Torah. And I was recently telling a friend how much I love the Torah. You know, this book has been highly influential in my life, and I love it. I love it. I love it with all its faults. I love it with all the holes. I love this thing as it has loved me in my life. And when I think of myself as a person who is the breath of a dynamic, evolving, creating new spirit and being, I'm in awe of it. In awe, right? Like to take it in all the ways, all its imperfections, and yet all the ways you meet yourself, and yet the ways that some of the stories are universal, and some of the stories, it is the principle, the seed, the yud inside of it, the place of conception that we are able to kind of suss out for our delight and or disaster, right? And in thinking about that, like experience, that very human experience of complexity and what I have come to deem an extremely boring lack of capacity, because we keep on doing the same things over. And it's just wild to me in that we've accepted this very scaled, layered reality that it's just wild, man. It's just fucking wild. But when I think about the stories in the Torah, the characters, the the people that have been immortalized, it made me think, what peace can their spirits have when we will not let them rest? Moshe forever is reliving his most vulnerable moments, his quote unquote failure, his beginnings. Sarah is forever known as the one who begun with disbelief, who mocked the message. Like, if you tell me that you will hold on to my perhaps worst moments, my not best moments, and have that on replay, and out of that, create a life, I would be terrified. I would not want my story to be told, right? Because I would not want you to be limited by the context of my own experience. I would not want you to conjure up my name as an archetype card out or something, get out of jail free card. I don't know, right? I would not want to be immortalized as an isolated fragment of the Holy One of Blessing. I would want it to be so clear how I am a flame dancing with flames. And for a moment, I thought, wow, I hadn't perceived it like that. I hadn't perceived it as, you understand that, like, if I'm thinking of you and your name is in my mind, I can create this whole like frequency, and where you're at, I'll come to mind because my energy is so directed. It's so direct. It's like there's power in the words that we put together. They're incantations. There's power in them to activate their essence. We immortalized humans. Do they get to rest? And what does it mean to grow our stories? What does it mean to grow out of the context, out of the old skins? When do we get to give Moshe, Aaron, Sarah, Rebecca, like when do we get to give them the rest and the dignity of their names, and actually evolve the story as a generation, as Jews? As Jews who do not need to live in perpetual profession of being one, because the world does know a Jew, mind you. So this very narrowed box that we have taken the Torah, it feels to me just like the antithesis of it, right? Whereas like the Torah is like it's the aim, it's where you're setting your bow to, and we're over here like fucking restraining the bow, or restraining the arrow, restraining the mechanism. Because we don't know how to keep our memory. And then we find it a pain to remember. Right? So my thing is that I get to have a relationship with this in a way that allows me to see it as the stories of a nomadic peoples, to see it as the spiritual world I like to live in and play in, and that I have stardust inside of me about. I like to see it as this influential text with many characters inside of it. Who knows what's really true? Who knows what's really true, except that things often give evidence of their own accord. Bet. All right. Okay. I want my ancestors to rest. May their memories be for a blessing. May all our memories be for a blessing. May all our memories be for a blessing. What are we doing here? How are we walking with things? Are we trying to make to make the mud to stick between the bricks when we don't need to stick things between the bricks anymore? When do we grow out of the story of our suffering? When do we get to let that go, to let that be, to let that rest? When? And if your response to me is when the world stops filling the blank, my response to you is going to be, was your name said at the mountaintop or not? Because if it is, then the job, the assignment is to grow on. To no longer build according to the old stories, to no longer venture in the worlds of harm, to no longer settle for what has been the baseline, but to transform the world from within and without. I fell in love with the book. I felt like some of the letters were written in my skin. And as much as I understand that is as much as I understand that my cells are renewed. That every second is a fresh breath. The mechanisms are mechanizing. Yeah, just wanted to share those thoughts.